ADHD entrepreneurs and their brains. You're able to gain clarity, gain control, and succeed on your terms. BS, you say? Well, I got Kelsey McCauley. He's the Chief Relationship Officer at Blackstar Wealth, a 15-plus-year-old entrepreneur who was diagnosed with ADHD over 8 years ago and a recent graduate of the ADHD Transformation Program. And he's here to explain his experience and say bullshit that we cannot gain control and we can succeed on our terms. Hey, Kelsey, how are you today?
Excellent, Andre. How are you?
Very good, very good, very good. Brief background of your history and what you're doing right now to the listeners.
Yeah, working in a boutique financial services firm with my wife. My wife's the CEO and the face of the firm. We work with mostly entrepreneurs and helping them understand their business value and understand how much money the business has to make to support their lifestyle today and tomorrow. So lots and lots of inputs and lots of things going around.
Great. And a great service too. So we'll have your contact information in the show notes too, because they do have a great business amplifier program as well, where you start looking at your company as a valuable asset and you're building the value of it, not necessarily making more money or more profit. So it really changes the way you look at things. So I highly recommend that. Can you give us a bit of a history? Let's go back before in your undiagnosed days and kind of describe the work style you had back then and the work life. Undiagnosed. I'm sure a lot of us will giggle because we'll understand.
Yeah, well, it's just funny because I live on the east coast of Canada in Nova Scotia, and I was in Toronto last week. I actually saw you as well. Mm-hmm. But I was staying directly across from my first job as at a university. So I was gazing at that building multiple times because I was up for a week, and I went, wow, these people should have killed me. I don't know how I made it as far as I did. A lot of shocks of disbelief of what I actually accomplished. And then also I can play back a lot of things that was like, like taking your course, I learned a lot more about triggers. And I'm just thinking back when I was looking at everything there going, holy, that's why this happened. That's why this happened. So it would have been nice to know that, 20 some years ago, but I didn't. But it's really neat over the last week to really reflect on that.
Yeah, that would be quite the reflection, because you were in a high pace, high energy, high intense industry at the time. Well, it's still going on at the time, but when you were working there, last minute changes. So, the stress levels have been higher.
Yeah, it was an incredible pace, an incredible time, working a lot of hours and super high stress. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was really interesting to know that I could put in 60, 100 hours in a week constantly and still survive.
And function, yeah. Now, at the same time, were you enjoying yourself?
I enjoyed my job immensely, but I didn't like the bureaucracy and the BS of that side of it. Job side, absolutely. It was a very hurry up and go type job. Very
a lot of changes.
Yeah, it was just like, you need to go now, and it was everything stopped and you just went. So I think that was really good for my brain because it was never the same monotony of sitting down looking at spreadsheets or writing Word documents or policy or whatever, or crunching numbers. It was always
novel, interesting, challenging too.
And urgent, like that was the biggest thing. It was definitely challenging, definitely urgent, definitely interesting, and a lot of fun.
So when did you realize that because I'm reflecting a lot with what you're saying, that pace, I realized at a certain age was my body would not be able to keep up. That was what my realization was. Not my my energy and my interest would, workaholism, I guess, for lack of a better word, can keep up. It was my physical body going, dude, you're going to run it down and run it out. So did you have a recollection or a come to Jesus at that time, like kind of moment?
Yeah, I feel it was, I remember, I was working with my wife for like 16 years or something crazy now. Um, so 8 years ago or whatever, we've taken strategic coach. We know what's kind of going on. We have other coaches. And I have my lists and I'm still not getting through them, or I can't move the balls as much as I
Yeah.
wanted to. And I was getting really frustrated. So, I'm late 30s and I'm like, man, I know I have more to give. I know I can move more, but I can't move more because something's blocking me. And um, really trying to figure out what that was.
So what were your next steps?
The next steps, um, I just lucky enough to talk to some people, and I was just like, hey, it seems to be like my focus, or it seems to be this, or um, I've done Vipassana meditation 3 times now. Um, I think because my first retreat was almost a decade ago, so it was around the same kind of time, and it was just really reflecting on like what the F is going on here, because I want to work, I want to do this, I can see it, but my body's not responding.
Oh, wow. That's a huge phrase there. My body is not responding. So that was what was blocking you as well.
Yeah, and I'm just like, why? And that's when I called my doctor and I was like, hey, I have problems focusing, staying on task. Um, and that started the conversation. And then I got some medication and that helped a lot.
So I want to make clear to the listeners is that, something was blocking you and your body was not responding. The point I want to make here is it's not that, Kelsey has not been successful. They've accomplished a lot over the last 16 years, but it was just that one little thing, right? Like I felt the same way. It's just, I'm doing all this stuff succeeding, but there's still that one thing that's in my way. And I never had that's a great vocabulary that was blocking me and my body was not responding. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, no, it felt good when I was saying it too, because it's like, this is interesting, because also my self-reflection is going on at the same
Yeah.
time as I'm speaking here. Um, yeah, that was the biggest thing. And doing meditation and giving yourself the time to reflect in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, why? Am I bored? No. Do I like what I'm doing? Yes. Like everything was positive. And that's what I was like, well, why can't I? I'm just spinning my wheels. And I didn't want to, and burning energy. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't want to do this. It's just like spinning tires. I went, no, I don't want to spin tires anymore. I was tired of it.
Well, that's the one thing I have always had a lot of respect for you is you've always been a great self-reflector, reflective. You're, um, like you've always processed that information. And I think that's one of the big key things, especially people just recently diagnosed with ADHD. It's self-reflection is a massive part of any transformation and getting clarity. What I did not hear from you was that those were excuses and justifications of what you did in the past in your first job where you're reflecting at the building. It was clarity and understanding. It's an explanation.
Absolutely. It's not an excuse, because that's just a waste of time. Plus, it's already, that ship has sailed. But I was able to reflect and learn from it. And I said it was just really neat to explain or comprehend, because even back then I wondered, but I didn't have the self-reflection as much
Right.
as it just didn't know. And now there's this thing called the internet, which is a little easier to get a little bit more information. You have to sift and sort it, obviously, but you know, 20 years ago, trying to figure out what was going on compared to 8 or 9 years ago was vastly different.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Both of us
No,
forget where we're at now.
what's that?
So both of us are like, what were we talking about? Where are we
No,
at?
it's actually no. I'm now reflecting on my first job and my high school jobs. Sorry, my head went over there because, like you
Yeah.
said, like my body's not responding. They really triggered a lot of other instances and recollections, and it's true. It was a physical feeling of not being able to move forward, no
Yeah.
matter what effort we tried.
And I was like, no one will ever outwork me. Like that
Yeah,
was my mentality has always been like at work, but I'm like, I know I'm the amount of effort I'm putting in, I should be a lot further. Um,
right.
and that was the reflective part of, well, why? And then you have to go through and you have to be honest with yourself. And I think a lot of people aren't honest with themselves because
Yes.
they blame other shit. And it's no, man. You like people say, why do you go away for a 10-day silent meditation retreat? It must be hard. And I just tell people, like, it's 10 days. You just have to look in the mirror because there's no journaling, there's no TV, there's no phone, there's no talking, there's no gesturing. It's just you and your thoughts.
Which scares the shit out of a lot of people to be alone with their thoughts. I know I was for a long time. I think that was one of the reasons I had that go, go, go urgent pace.
You have to be ready for it. And that's the one thing that it's just one of those things you just don't go and do. You have to kind of be ready for it. That was the first time I ever meditated, and I call it like the PhD course because it's quite intense. But it was one of the best gifts I ever gave myself because now I have another way of slowing things down.
A gift that you gave yourself. Was
Yep.
that a common phraseology in the past?
For me,
Yeah.
yeah, because I've been reflective enough about myself and understand that.
No, I mean the part of gifting yourself, like that was sounded like a conscious decision that you're going to do this for you first.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that because to me it's a selfish act. I miss Christmas and New Year's because I was locked away in Quebec at with a bunch of strangers and not able to talk to anybody.
Yeah, and I like you use the word selfish, which is the proper dictionary term. Selfish in
Yeah.
its own right is neither positive nor negative. It's all how you use it. So sometimes I tell people you need to be selfish and do shit for yourself, for your mental health.
Well, that's it. I'm like, because this is me, and I'm like, I will come out a different version of myself, or more reflective, or um, and that should just make everybody else around me better. Because if I come out better, and that's the biggest thing I've learned from meditation. If we didn't give a crap about everybody else, and we just cared about our space, like ourselves, made ourselves happy, everybody would be happy,
Mm-hmm.
and we wouldn't have chaos. But that's not reality. But I realize that I can control myself. I can't control others as much as we've tried through the years. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing I don't know. I started doing this about 6-7 years ago, and I got to get back into it. But I was taking my own 1-week retreat once or twice a year, all by myself. But I think with the ADHD entrepreneur, with our go, 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 and the overstimulating world that we live in, we need to get that one break all by ourselves to regroup, reset, clear all that crap out of our heads and overstimulation so we can get back to creative mode again.
Well, someone called whenever I was talking about meditation, they said it's like a defrag.
Right.
And that's why when you just said that, that's like a defrag. It's like,
Yeah.
I've got to go. Everything's working, but it's all jumbled at the moment.
Yeah.
And I just need to put everything in. It's like, get everybody down to the dock, get everybody into the boat, get everybody facing the same way in the boat, get everybody in the ordinate water. Like, forget about cadence. There's a lot of steps before you get to cadence.
Yeah.
And that's where, I just talked to a buddy of mine who's got a place that out in an island, nice and secluded. Talked to him yesterday about going out for a few days. I said, I want to go with a couple 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles and just me.
Right. And that's the key. Don't bring work. Don't bring shit that pisses you off. Just do whatever you want to do that suits you.
Bring some food and a couple 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles and just sit at the wooden table and look out at the water for a few days and not talk to anybody.
Earlier you said that you have to be ready for it with the self-reflection, honesty, and going to like with your retreat. And I think that's also one of the conditions for the ADHD transformation program. People have to be ready for it. Does that make sense to you? Because you progressed it through the program.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those ones that game changing. Highly recommend the program. Um, for me, always learning something. I think that's you have to come in with some openness and that willing to learn and willing to take some feedback. I
Yeah.
felt that, in the group settings were great because there were so many different parallels and symmetries. Um, Even though we were all in different industries, in different countries. So for me, like going through the program and learning, and it was very much okay because I've done a ton of assessments, but I hadn't done the Strengths Finder one, and I was like, oh, or the print, custom strike. And I went, okay, well, what's this?
Yeah, we use those in the program. Yeah.
Sorry, that's one of the tools in the program. And I was very familiar with some other tools in the program, but that one was like, okay. And wasn't really reluctant at first to do it because I was like, oh, because I figured I had faith that there was a reason for it. I knew the program would need it so everyone else could talk about it. But that was really, really interesting. That's earlier when I spoke about triggers, going through that.
You're referring to the print, the YFU.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I think we're kind of getting to where the question you asked, but I think it's about the openness and the reflectiveness on yourself to make sure. Anyways, you can go to the next question because I'm kind of lost now.
No problem. Well, what were your key learnings and points of clarity with the program?
My biggest one was like learning triggers and situations, and then learning the balance of not being in your shadow self, and then
Being your best self.
Being your best self. That's not your best life, but freaking hate that whole mantra. It's like, why aren't you just living that anyways? Like, shouldn't that be like table stakes, your best life?
Yeah.
But similar to seeking out, a decade ago, why I needed to change things. The course was really, really good to teach why I am the way I am in a lot of situations. That would be the biggest. And you're not alone. I mean, that's always a big one too, especially in entrepreneurship. But when you get into this sliver of this brain and mannerisms, and I also learned some good communication to speak to others when things are going positive or negative, that I don't react as much.
Yeah, fair enough. We both have similar prints, and I get exactly what you mean. We get very passionate quickly.
Yeah, we both have identical prints.
Like, what ways do you feel you have grown or changed as a result of the program? And then what aspects of the program contributed to that growth?
Biggest things in that program was really, as I said, just like learning myself. A lot of the good, the group settings helped a lot because you could just kind of talk some things out, and then just listening to other stories, and similar to what you did and started thinking about your high school jobs and whatnot earlier. And when someone's speaking about this, and you're like, oh, I can see how that correlates to me, and I can see how. And it was almost in every story or every situation I could reflect back to multiple different scenarios and go, oh, this piece of key information would have been helpful for myself to.
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway is just the ability to move things forward a lot quicker.
Right. Yep.
That would be like the biggest, you're like, what's your takeaway or what's your thingamajigger? And that's it.
So how did this program influence your perspective and approach towards your field or professional or personal and professional goals in life?
How does it feel? Was that the question?
I mean, look at the notes. I might have read it wrong. How it influenced your perspective
How does it influence my perspective?
or approach.
Um, Recognizing it in others quicker. I've always been able to see others and I'll be like, oh, don't take it personally because that's just Andre the way he's abrupt, as an
Yeah.
example. And it's like, oh, it's not personal. I took a lot of things personally all the time. So it's just, oh, he's probably here. And if I meet him at here with this language, we're going to move forward a lot quicker and not go down a rabbit hole or why are you pissy today or whatever. It's like, man, I just asked a question. Do you want one or two scoops? Like, there's nothing more than one or
Yeah.
two scoops. Like, so I think it's not having to read between the lines all the time.
Yeah, because that's the other thing we did too, is work on understanding other people as well, not just ourselves. Understanding.
And I think that's really important because
Yeah.
yes, you understand yourself, but you also have to understand others are going to react differently towards you. And you could be subconscious of your mannerisms. And I think that's being more cautious or conscious of mannerisms.
Right.
Don't sit there, your arms folded or whatever. Like, just the awareness has ratcheted up a bunch.
It also sounds like you're doing less assumptions of other people.
Yeah, just taking it at face value, and then I'm spending a lot less energy burning,
Yeah.
trying to guess what 3 steps is all the time.
Yeah, I like that. Burning less energy. That's a really good one. Just to wrap it up, if you don't mind, what would you say to someone who's considering joining this program, and why would you recommend it?
Do it. Have a conversation with Andre first, make sure it's a fit. But if you're out there and you're thinking, similar to myself and many others that I've met in this program and other places, it's the spinning. If you're just spinning your wheels and you're not getting anywhere, and you really feel that, you know, you want to move forward, you want to understand yourself, excuse me, and others a little bit better, especially yourself, and how to set up systems and processes for you to succeed, which again will flow into everybody else. I think it's well worth it, extremely well worth it.
Cool. Well, I appreciate that. It was definitely fun to watch your growth and transcendence. I'm starting to use that. I think a lot of the programs to do is transcending your transformation, because majority of people that are working with me have already transformed and just get, like Kelsey kind of said, that last little bit that's in blocking you, and that's not allowing your body to respond. And I really like those phrases. I'm going to use them if you don't mind, because it's really good.
If I already trademarked them, you'll pay me $1 royalty every time you use them.
Well, we'll see who gets to the lawyer first then. How's that? Competition?
It's already recorded, dude. I said it first. You've referred to it at least 2 or 3 times. I feel fairly confident.
No, it's all right. You can have it. You're good. You're good. Well, Kelsey, thank you very much. And the one thing I wanted the listeners to take away was that self-reflection and honesty to self is definitely key to transcend your transformation. And are you ready to transcend? If so, give me a call. I would love to talk to you and see what we can do. And like Kelsey said, it's very true. I'm going to make sure that I'm the right fit for you, and then you're the right fit for the program. And if I am not the right fit, I definitely can help you find someone who is. So Kelsey, thanks again for your time. And I learned a lot from you too as well, my friend. So it's not one-way learning. I definitely learned a lot from the group. And it was definitely wonderful, great experience to grow with you guys as well too. So thank you. And to you, the listeners, thanks again for learning with me. Talk to you soon.